So hopefully you saw where the chickens live and where we are today. I have Shannon with me today. It's been a while. So say hi to Shannon. So what I was saying is our question of the day, just to start off as a welcome, is what is your favorite food to eat with eggs in it? So who would like to start? You're gonna call on somebody?
I got one.
Say it again.
You guys unmute yourself so you guys can answer and then read.
French toast.
Said what, Miles?
French toast.
French toast.
French toast. Yum.
Ooh,
That is
creative.
good.
An egg sandwich.
An egg sandwich?
Yum.
Is that what you said? Yummy.
Scrambled eggs.
Scrambled eggs, those are good.
Does anybody not like eggs?
Me.
You don't like them? You don't like them? Couple of people?
No.
I don't like hard-boiled eggs.
I don't like eggs unless they're mixed into something or you don't taste them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't even like hard-boiled eggs.
I
Well,
love
there's a lot of
eggs, but I gotta
have
dig that
eggs in them
thing
that
out
don't
of
really
them.
taste the same.
I don't like plain eggs.
I don't like the yolk part.
Yeah, I don't like that white part.
That works.
Anybody else have some kind of egg dish that they enjoy? Does anybody like deviled eggs?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, those are good.
Yeah.
Those are like a good summer food.
All right, is there anybody else on the list? Any other students? Okay. Okay, hopefully that was everybody that went. I also like all of those dishes that you said. I don't know if I can pick a favorite right now, but those are all delicious. So the first question that we're going to talk about chickens is, why do we have chickens at a garden? So we're a gardening organization. Why would we want to have chickens here? Who has a guess? So if we look down at our chickens, they're doing all sorts of things with their beaks and with their feet.
Because they can because they make eggs.
They lay eggs. That's one reason. So we get their eggs. Why else do you think we would want them? So you see they're eating some, I think some kale maybe.
To eat.
They eat stuff. What do you think they eat that would be really good in the garden?
Bugs.
Yeah, they eat bugs. So they might eat some of the pests that are attacking our plants in the garden. That's another reason. And then I wonder if we can catch them doing their thing with their feet.
Let's see.
They were just doing it. So they might be camera shy. But I'll just say chickens do one other thing with their feet where they've got feet like this and they'll dig and dig and dig like this. And why would that be good in the garden? Why would we need them to dig into the soil for a garden?
So you can use the
Is it-
soil to plant.
To loosen the soil to plant, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yep, that's exactly it. So they help to loosen up the soil also. We have a thing called a chicken tractor. And I think, well, it's kind of far away, but maybe eventually we'll see it at the end or something. And what it is it's perfectly sized to a garden bed. And you put the chickens inside at the beginning of the season, and they'll eat all the weed seeds that are in there. They'll dig up the soil so that we can start planting stuff. And it's just they're really good workers in the garden. So we really like our chickens. So I have Shannon here with me today, who's going to talk about our chickens. She's going to introduce some chickens and tell you a little bit about their breeds. Okay, I'm going to try to catch a chicken. So that might be entertaining. It's been a while because of COVID. We haven't caught a chicken for a while. They
There we go. This one's always easy to catch. So we have 8 different adult hens. Hens are the female chickens that lay eggs at City Sprouts. And we also have 3 chicks right now who are in this little coop. And they are about 12 weeks old, I think. So they almost look as big as the adult hens, but they're not quite there yet. They can't be in with the grown-ups because they might pick on them a little bit, but they're getting pretty huge. I don't know. They're going to be able to come in soon. So we have different breeds. This is I'm going to put her down. Oh, we'll just pan around. Okay, so this gold one right here is a Buff Orpington. They're generally very sweet, calm chickens. They're a little bit bigger. When we're in the city, especially, we want to have chickens that are a little bit heavier. Makes it harder for them to fly out of the coop. There are some chickens that are pretty lightweight and are really good flyers. They can fly, 8 foot up in the air, up to get into trees. But we don't want them to do that in the city so much. So we try to have a little bit heavier breeds. And there are hundreds of different chicken breeds that have been bred over the years for different qualities. So we have a Cochin behind Anna here. She is super, super fluffy. She's got feathers on her feet. She's just super fluffy. People usually like her. So she's a chicken that does especially well in the winter time. Her feathers keep her feet warm. She doesn't like it so much when it's July and it's super hot. So if you're living in a colder climate, you might want chickens that are more adapted for colder weather. We also have an interesting one is this Transylvanian naked neck, and we actually have 2 of those. The other one is in the nesting box, I think. So people always come to us and they're like, something's wrong with your chicken or she's getting picked on. But Transylvanian naked necks, which are also sometimes called Turkins, were bred to have no feathers on their neck, and their body overall has about 25% less feathers. Does anyone have any idea about like what might be good about having less feathers when you're talking about a chicken?
When it gets too hot, you don't be too hot. So the chicken don't get too hot.
So the chicken doesn't get too hot. That's a good one. So the chicken doesn't get too hot. Okay, what else do we use chickens for besides eggs? What else might we do with chickens? Food-wise.
We eat them.
We eat them, you're right. We eat them. So when you eat them, you have to pluck them. And so it's nice to have less feathers sometimes to have to remove. That's part of the Transylvanian naked neck. This black one right here is called a Jersey Giant. She's shy. She's very shy. She's a pretty big chicken. Another thing about these, I have a trash truck going by. I don't know if you can hear me. Another thing about these Buff Orpingtons, we have 2 of them. They go broody a lot, which means they like to sit on eggs and try to hatch eggs. They're really, really good moms. So if you want to be raising chicks and you want a hen that's going to take really good care of her babies and hatch out the eggs well, and you want to get a good broody hen, and the Buff Orpingtons are really, really good at that. So some of our chickens are molting right now. Some of them, this one right here is a Cuckoo Moran. She's kind of black and white. She looks perfect. I have a feeling she might be one of the chickens picking on the other chicken's feathers because no one seems to bother her. But she lays a dark brown egg. So we also have different chickens are bred to lay different colored eggs. Some of them lay green eggs, dark brown eggs, light brown eggs, blue eggs, kind of a rosy colored egg. So people will pick their chickens based on what color of eggs they want to get too. Does anyone have any questions about different breeds of chickens? I guess there's also bantam chickens, which are much smaller chickens. I can pick at my toes. So there are smaller chickens, bigger chickens. Trying to think if there's any other. They have different kinds of combs on their head. Some are known to be more friendly. Some are known to be a little more shy and wild. Some of them lay a lot of eggs, and some of them might look really pretty or be good meat birds, but they don't lay very many eggs. So that's kind of the different ways you pick breeds. Any questions, thoughts? Anyone have a favorite chicken that they've seen so far? Or any thoughts on any of the chicken breeds? No? Okay. If not, we are going to move on, and it's going to talk about the food that chickens eat. All right. Okay, so we're going to come back over here. We already talked a little bit about what they eat to help out the garden. So just as a review, what did we say they eat in the garden?
The bugs.
Bugs? The bugs. What else do they eat? What else did I say they eat? What was that?
Kelp. Kelp.
Kelp?
Yeah.
Oh, kale. Kale.
Oh,
yes,
kale,
yes, yes.
Yep. So they eat beans and bugs. So what does that make them? Are they a carnivore, an herbivore, or an omnivore? Have you learned these terms in science yet?
Omnivore.
They're an omnivore. Good job. So what does that mean?
They eat meat and vegetables.
Yep, they eat meat and vegetables. Good job. So in addition to that, they also eat some other things. So our chickens that live at City Sprouts don't just feed on greens and bugs all day. We also feed them a chicken feed, which looks like this. I'll get some out. This is kind of, this is really dusty. But it looks like this. So if you have a pet hamster or a cat or a dog, they eat kibble. And chickens eat this chicken feed for kind of the same reason. So why do you feed your pets a kibble like this? What does it have in it that makes it good for them?
Grains.
Grains. What else? So if chickens were just gonna, it has protein. Yep. Anything else?
Good. So it has been set up so we know exactly what's going in the feed. It's coming from a place that's measuring out the amount of protein and carbs and different things that are in the feed, so you know that your chickens are going to have access to the things that they need, just like your pets at home would.
Yep, exactly. So it's just got all the nutrients that pets or that chickens need. It's also made mostly of something that we can grow here in Nebraska. It's made of a vegetable that grows really tall. Does anyone have a guess?
Corn.
Yeah, it's made mostly of corn. Good job. So the other thing that chickens eat a lot of, well, they don't actually eat a lot of this, but they do need this occasionally. And this is oyster shells, which are high in calcium. So why would chickens need to sometimes eat something high in calcium? So if we think of the reasons that we have our chickens, one of them is that we take their eggs. We use their eggs for food. So why would they need to eat something high in calcium for their eggs? Any guess? No? That's okay. So when they eat the oyster shells that are high in calcium, it makes their eggshells stronger. So if chickens are not getting enough calcium in their diet, then the eggs will come out with really weak shells. And that's not really good for them or for selling or anything like that. Isn't there something called like egg binding syndrome or something?
If the chicken's eggshell is too, it can be brittle where it breaks really easily, or sometimes it doesn't even, it kind of comes out like without a shell. It just is kind of like a jelly egg, which is really fun to touch. But the risk then is that it can break inside the chicken, which can really easily cause the chicken to get an infection and die. So you want them to have good, strong eggs.
Yes. And then finally, we have one more thing, which if you've learned about chickens with us before, I think this is probably the most interesting part of their diet. And this is called grit, which is just little tiny pebbles. So if anyone has learned about chickens with us before, you remember why chickens need to ingest pebbles to digest their food. This one is just so
Don't they
friendly.
swallow their food whole?
What was
Don't they
that?
swallow the food whole?
They do
I
swallow
know.
them. Why do they need to swallow those pebbles?
Because the food, sometimes the food is too thick, so they eat pebbles, and so the pebbles break
Yeah.
down the food.
Mm.
I couldn't hear you.
The pebbles break up the food. 'Cause
They break up the food. That is really, really
Mhm.
close, but there is an extra part of that. So chickens don't have teeth. And what do animals use their teeth for before they swallow their food?
Chew it up.
Yeah, to chew it up and make it small pieces. But chickens don't have teeth, so they just swallow their food whole, and then they swallow those pebbles, and then they have
Gizzard.
they have a gizzard, which is where that all sits, and it grinds up the food before it goes into their stomach. So that is how chickens completely chew up their food, you could say.
Has anyone ever eaten chicken gizzards?
No.
No.
It's like a popular food. I feel like it's usually fried, but if you ever see that, now you know what part of the chicken the gizzard is. It's kind of strange.
So any questions on what chickens eat?
They can
Yeah.
also eat, we said they eat meat, they eat insects. They also will eat things like mice or little lizards if they're in a place where there's little lizards, and other really small little creatures like that. They love chasing around mice. They're really good at catching them. Did someone have a comment? I'm sorry I interrupted you. No?
Nobody?
Okay.
Okay, so now we are going to talk more about the egg laying process. Shannon is going to talk about that. Yes. Here we go.
So eggs, which is why most people care a lot about chickens. We're gonna go into the chicken coop and see if there are any eggs in there. And
Do you want to just do the tour while we're in there?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, see that up. Oh, and there are. I didn't even notice this. Okay, so these are our nesting boxes. Excuse me. This is a place inside the chicken coop where the chickens come. There is our other Transylvanian naked neck is in here right now, and she's broody. I'm gonna stick my. She's really good. She's really puffed up. You can see her. She doesn't usually look like this, and she's very cranky. Sometimes we have chickens that are broody, and you can stick your hand in there, and they don't get too mad. But I have tried it before with her, and I know she'll peck at me, so I'm not gonna do it. She probably has some eggs under her. In this other nesting box, which it looks gross, someone's pooped in here, but there are a bunch of eggs. So we have 3 nesting boxes, but most of the eggs are in one. Chickens like to all lay in the same nesting box. So these eggs are pretty much all the same color. We do have some, I think we still have, maybe we lost our green egg layer, but we have a dark brown and a couple different shades of brown. So these are the eggs. I guess we'll ask that question later. But so the 2 biggest things that we get asked about eggs and chickens is, 1, do you have to have a rooster to have eggs? And the answer is no. Chickens will lay eggs whether there's a rooster or not. Hens will lay eggs whether there's a rooster or not. When they get to be about 16 to 20 weeks old, or about 6 months old, is usually when you start seeing them starting to lay. And they don't need a rooster, but you would need a rooster if you wanted your eggs to be fertilized in order to hatch out more baby chicks. So and you can also eat an egg whether it's been fertilized or not. It's going to look the same. The only time an egg starts to be different and when you wouldn't want to eat it is if a hen has been laying on it for many days. So as long as you're collecting your eggs every day, you're not going to be able to tell the difference between a fertilized egg and a not fertilized egg. They'll look the same. So yeah, you don't need a rooster. The chickens will lay. I guess the other question we get is how many eggs chickens lay, hens lay.
Does anybody want to guess before you tell them?
Yeah.
Does anybody have a guess?
How many they lay in a week? About
8?
3. That's a good guess. Anybody else have another one?
What did you say?
How many eggs do chickens lay in 1 week? What's your guess?
Someone guessed 3.
12.
12.
12. I feel like we've gotten answers from like 90 to, I don't know. There's sometimes really big numbers. So
1 or
3
2
is right.
eggs.
Huh?
1 or 2?
1 or 2? Yeah. So 3 could be right. 1 or 2 could be right. Not more than 7. So there are some chickens that will lay an egg every single day during the time in their life when they're the most productive. But they don't ever lay more than that. The only kind of, I guess the aside to that is in commercial egg producing places, they will give the chickens artificial light. So they may lay slightly more than 1 egg a day. Like they might lay 3 eggs in 2 days or 2.5 days.
And that's not really healthy or
And that's
natural for
not-
a chicken.
Yeah, that's not great for them. So yeah, about 3 to 5 eggs a week is probably average. And if you're really lucky, you might get 7 a day. The thing that causes chickens to lay eggs is light. So in the winter time, they lay less eggs generally than they do in the summer. The light, the amount of light that their body is getting stimulates these hormones. It gets them to produce the egg, which is pretty cool. So, and then some chickens will lay all of the eggs. They're born with all of the eggs in their body that they will ever lay. And some of them will lay all of those eggs in about 2 years. They might lay every day and then they're all done. And some breeds of chickens will lay eggs less often, but it might spread over 5 years or so. We still get on the video. Good.
Yeah, I just
Okay.
had my ringtone on, so I was turning it off.
So right now we have chickens that are a year old and we have chickens that are 5 years old. And I thought that our 5-year-old chicken was not laying anymore, but I think she still is occasionally. She might lay an egg once a week or every couple of weeks.
Is that the naked neck?
The naked neck.
Yeah.
The older naked neck is.
But she's got
Still
character, so
going.
she'll stay around.
She's been in City Sprouts longer than I have, which is pretty cool. Yeah. Any questions about the egg laying? The whole process.
What's the hole called?
What's the hole called?
Yeah.
The cloaca is what the hole is called. Did someone write that?
No,
Was that your question?
I just think it's a fun fact.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cloaca.
Yeah, something like
I don't
that.
say it out loud very often. Yeah. Oh, there's one other thing. Oh, another really cool thing about eggs is that they the last thing that happens before they are laid, before they come out, is this thin layer is put over them that we call a bloom. And it's kind of this like antibacterial protective layer that keeps any bacteria from getting into the egg, which is really awesome. And if you, in a lot of other countries, they don't refrigerate their eggs, and you don't have to refrigerate them as long as you don't wash them. So if you don't wash them until you can wash them right before you're going to eat them, but that protective layer will keep them good just sitting on your counter for up to 90 days usually, which is a really long time. You can also do a fun test with eggs to see if they're still good. You put them in a big bowl of water, and if they float, they are not good. And if they stand, sometimes they'll be at the very bottom, which is really good, and sometimes they'll like start to stand on end like this, and that means they're starting to not be great. But yeah, we here in like all the commercial, I keep wanting to say egg factories. I don't know if that's the right term, but we'll call them
Basically.
the egg factories.
Factory farms? That's a word.
Factory
Yeah.
farms, yeah. They will definitely, they're washing all the eggs and kind of blasting that outer layer off. So they definitely need to be refrigerated to be safe to eat. Yeah.
I feel like you know the coop the best. So do you want to do the tour?
Okay, so these are the nesting boxes where the chickens lay eggs or where they sit in the egg box and try to hatch eggs. We don't have a rooster. We don't have fertilized eggs in there, so this chicken's just gonna hang out in there until she's tired of doing it. These over here are what we call roosts.
So chickens, wild chickens would, the ancestors of the domestic chickens we have now would be roosting up in trees and forests. Anyone know why they would go up in trees, sleep in trees? I bet you know it.
If you know anything about predators and prey, you probably know the answer.
So they can get away from their predators.
Yeah, good job. So they can get away from predators.
So at nighttime, it's getting dark, they go up in a tree. So we give them roosts. They like to be as high as they can. So if we had some other thing they could land on in here that was higher, they'd go up to the highest thing. But they hang out here. They all sit next to each other. In the wintertime, they puff up. They kind of sit down on their feet to keep them warmer, and they huddle together for warmth here too. So we have those. We have this little, someone donated, I think it was for composting originally, but we put it in here and it's a fun little place. Sometimes they lay, oh, yep, there's an egg in there. Yep. Sometimes they lay eggs in there. Sometimes they just go in there, I feel like, for a little quiet time. We have their water here. We have food. We like to keep these up off the ground because they're doing that scratching, kicking thing all the time, and they'll get their food and water really dirty. So food, water. This is called, we call this part the coop. It's the inside totally enclosed space. We have this hardware clock, which is pretty strong wire, and it's all around the coop to keep predators out, because lots of different predators in the city would love to come snack on chickens. Can anyone think of a predator that we have in the city that might love chickens?
There's a bunch. Cats, yep.
Fox.
Foxes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or did you say dogs? Well, both of those, I guess.
Fox.
Yep, foxes.
Yeah, and cats, so like, you know, feral cats or stray cats or cats that are outside, they can get chickens, and they would probably be out during the day more. A lot of them like to watch the chickens, and then they get close and they're like, whoa, these things are as big as I am, so they're not into it. But when dogs get loose, and foxes, I believe, usually come out during the day or early morning, evening, and they're especially on the edges of the city, a big one. What's one more? Can you think of one more that comes out at nighttime that's really good at doing things with their fingers? Yeah, raccoons. Raccoons are kind of our biggest one because they're really good at digging and they can climb.
Didn't we have a hawk in here once too?
Yeah, we also had a hawk, so that's another one. That's a daytime one too, that they will swoop down and try to get the chickens. Yeah, so this is the coop. This is the space where we lock them up at night. They're protected. Out here, we call this the run, which some people's runs are also covered up, but the run is the space they spend during the day. They get a lot more space to scratch around. And chickens, this is a good amount of space for the amount of chickens we have. Some people have theirs running loose on a farm. Some people have theirs in a little bit smaller and close space, but these chickens are pretty lucky. We also have these
fun playground equipment.
Yeah, these are chicken swings that we saw on the internet. Chickens like to play on. There were some fun YouTube videos. So we had a volunteer that made us a couple. I cannot get the chickens to play on them, so
maybe these chicks will be different.
Yeah, we might have to train them to play on them. But we kind of have different things for them to climb on. We like to throw things from the garden in here, straw. We also have back here, especially in the summer, so these are our pawpaw trees, and they create some really nice shade. The chickens like spend a lot of time in there. You can also see these holes all over, and this is where the chickens have dug around and taken dust baths, which is great for their feathers. So when it's really hot, you'll see them out here scratching and kind of rolling around. Sometimes they look dead in there in the holes. It's a little bit scary because they'll be upside down and kind of stuck at a weird angle, but that's really great for them to cool down and get any mites that are on their feathers off. So that's really fun. I think these are our little travel cages. If we were coming to see you, we would be bringing the chickens in one of these
carrying boxes or whatever.
Yeah.
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 I think that's about it. And this is our little coop that the chicks are in. So they also have, this is their run. Inside here is their enclosed space, but this whole thing is closed in all the time.
Yeah.
Okay, so just for
Reflection time. Can somebody say one thing that they learned today about chickens? And we'll have at least 3 answers, if not everybody. So who wants to go? What's one thing you learned?
I learned that chickens lay 3 to 5 eggs a week.
Yeah, chickens lay about 3 to 5 eggs a week. Good. What else did you learn?
I learned
That
chicken.
they can have blue eggs.
They can lay blue eggs. Yep, there's some breeds that lay blue eggs.
Chicken can dig holes. I didn't know that.
Dig holes.
Chicken can
Dig holes?
dig holes.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Very useful. And we'll do one more. We talked about a lot of stuff today.
Chickens can lay eggs like once a day.
They lay eggs about once a day. Yep. Yeah, good job. So I hope that you learned many things about chickens and that you go answer the reflection questions. And next week is the last week, so we'll see you then. Bye.